Hello everyone, in this session we will learn how to set up continuous deployment from Git to Azure App Service using Azure CLI. For continuous deployment from Git, we will be using a personal access token from GitHub. They are an alternative to using password for authentication. For this session, we will need to have the following prerequisites in place. You should have a GitHub account from which we will set up continuous integration. You should have an Azure subscription. You should have Azure command line interface installed in your machine. You should have a Git client installed in your machine for Git specific activities. Let's have a look at the steps we are going to follow for setting up continuous deployment. First, we will generate a personal access token in GitHub. Then, we will create a resource group at a specific location. Once the resource group is created, we will create an app service plan in the resource group. Once the app service plan is created, we will create a web application. Now, we will do the required configuration to deploy from a specific Git repository using the GitHub Personal Access token. Once we have configured the deployment, we will check if our application has deployed successfully. Now, we will make changes to the code and push it to the remote Git repository. Once the changes are pushed, we will recheck the web application to see if the changes we have done in the Git remote repository are picked up by the web application. Ideally, we should be able to see the changes in the web application. Let's go ahead and execute the above mentioned steps. In the screen, you can see the steps that we will be executing for setting up continuous deployment from Git to Azure App Service. Let's start executing the steps one by one. Let's create a personal access token first. For this, log into your GitHub account, then click on the settings link. On the settings page, click on the developer settings link. Now click on personal access tokens link. On the personal access tokens page, click on the generate new token button. Enter a token name. After that, you will have to set the scope. Once you have selected the scope, scroll down and click on generate token button. Your token is generated. Note it down for future use. We have generated the personal access token in GitHub. Now let's create the resource group. For creation of the resource group, we will need a resource group name and a location. Let's define variables for that. Object RG location equal to HTS. Command for creation of the resource group is as follows. Use that group create. G parameter is used for entering the resource group name. We'll use that parameter to enter the location for the resource group. And then we'll use the O parameter to define the format in which we would like to see the output of the command execution, which is table in our case. We have created the resource group. Now let's create an app service plan in the resource group. We will need a name for the app service plan. Let's define a variable for that. Equal to object is P. Command for creating an app service plan is as follows. Is it apps create. We'll use the G parameter to enter the resource group name. We'll use N parameter to enter the name of the app service plan. We'll use Q parameter to define the tire. And then they will use the O parameter to define the format in which you would like to see the output of the command, which is tabular in our case. Once we have the app service plan, let's create a web application in that. We will need a name for the web application. Let's define a variable for that. Name equal to alt web. Command to create a web application is as follows. Create the parameter for the resource group name. key parameter for entering the app service plan name. We'll use the n parameter to enter the web app name itself, and then you'll use o parameter to find the format in which we would like to see the output of the command execution, which is table in our case. Once the web application is ready, let us do configurations to deploy code from Git to the web application using personal access token. For configuration, we will need personal access token and Git repository URL. Let's define variables for that. I'm just gonna paste the variables here. Command for configuring deployment is as follows: deployment source config is g parameter to enter the resource group name, and use the parameter to enter the web application name, and we'll use the repo URL parameter to enter the Git repository URL. Then we'll use the branch parameter to enter the branch from where we would like to take the code, and we'll use the Git token parameter to enter the personal access token to be used, and we'll use the o parameter to define the format in which we would like to see the output of the command execution. We are ready with the script. Let's go ahead and execute the script. Let's wait for the script execution to complete. In case you get an error related to token or bad credentials, wait for some time and re-execute the script once again. Our script execution is complete. Let's go ahead and check the web application. We can see that the website is loading and our deployment is successful. Now let's make some changes to the code and push it to the remote repository. I'm just going to change this message, save it, dot commit push username. Okay, so we have pushed our changes to the remote Git repository. Now let's check if the changes are picked up by the web application. We can see that website has picked up the changes we had pushed into the remote Git repository. Thanks for watching this video, and please check description for links to other useful resources.